No, right? So remember, norms, this is not your goal. This is just what's true and what people have achieved. You're not those people. You are way above average. Girlfriend, if nobody else told you that today, let me be the first. How can you measure at home just a few 5 measures? So this is whether you're just getting started or you've been exercising for a while, but you're actually not measuring beyond weight and or body composition. It's time to actually do some fitness testing, and you can do it with no equipment with these 5. Again, if you want the whole repertoire, it is our Longevity Fitness Scorecard. You can get it for free. It's a whole PDF that explains even better, more elaborate than I will do here. How do you do these tests? What's the setup? How can you record? How can you check? Just peek. And that's really important at how you do compared to norms. Because by the way, I published this book, this little tool twice. The first time I did not include the norms because I want you to compare to you. So if you do really poorly compared to other people, what you're doing is focused on, oh, is it even worth it? That can be really discouraging. And if you're already doing really well, you can stop trying very hard thinking, oh, I'm already great. But here's the thing. First of all, nobody ever wanted you to be average. Remember what norms are, whether we're talking your lab tests about your estrogen, progesterone, your thyroid. We're talking here about your performance. Remember that 80% of most adults are not exercising the minimum amount for their health. 70% of us, almost that number, are obese. So figure that norm values really is not where you want to be in the middle. We want to be excellent. My hope is that you are breaking this. The next time they publish a normative values in 20 years, and they're looking at us in 40 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, whoever you are listening, that we have blown these current numbers out of the water. That's what I want for you. We should be the most energetic and fit people walking in the room if you're here and you're exercising. If you are here and you are listening, you're not exercising yet, this is a great, let's just start here with these things. And I will talk to you about not only how to test here today, but how to improve these tests and why they're important. So let's go through this. Recovery heart rate. And I could go into resting heart rate. That's a really easy one first thing in the morning while you're still lying in bed. But recovery heart rate is more of a fitness test. Although resting heart rate will come down as conditioning improves, it's kind of result and evidence of what your training has done for you over time. Recovery heart rate's a little different. That is a measure of cardiovascular health. So we're not having to take you into a lab. You don't have to do a VO2 test. What I want you to do is recovery heart rate. To do this, you're going to do something that gets you out of breath in less than 30 seconds. And I mean totally breathless, like you have to stop. So you're either going to go up a steep incline. You could power walk. You don't have to run it, but if you are a runner, you could do that. You could be hiking. You wear your weighted vest if you've got it. Make sure it's a steep incline and go as fast as you can up that hill until you are literally breathless. But we need to reach that point. Otherwise, we lose that piece of breathlessness. Year after year, we'll get breathless sooner. But I want you to get breathless. I want you to mark. You have to be able to measure time and your heart rate. Hopefully, we've all got watches that are doing that for us right now. The old-fashioned way of taking your heart rate, you can still do that. However, if you're standing still, like after the interval for 15 seconds to count it, multiply times 4, your heart rate is coming down during that standstill. So the benefit of having your heart rate monitor right on your wrist, much better. Now, there still is a little lag time when you're doing an interval, but you're going to repeat this test. And this important piece about it, it's replicable. So you can test you again in the exact same way, in the exact same circumstance, ideally, same level of hydration, restedness, all of those. So you're comparing yourself before and after in the exact same circumstances. So that recovery heart rate, you're going to measure how high did it get But the test is really now rest completely for 1 minute. Take that heart rate again. What you're recording is the distance between those two, how many beats, and you're aiming for 20 or more. So you maybe ended that high intensity interval training at 150. You want to be at least 130 or less than that after. What you're measuring is the cardiovascular stress you put on the body. How well did your body respond? How resilient was it? The next test is single leg standing balance. You're going to stand up, and a couple of variables. Are you standing on a flat floor surface, whether it's hardwood, it's cement on your patio, but whatever you're doing, record it so you can do it again in the exact same way. Which shoes? Record that. Or do you want to go barefoot? Either way is okay. Don't get caught up. We're probably testing your balance more if you're barefoot than if you're in shoes that are going to add some stability for you. If you feel you're a little bit vulnerable and that this single leg standing is a balance test you should be doing, you could put your fingertips on the counter, but notice it's fingertips on the counter. You're not actually putting your hands or your weight on it. And you want to stand very close to the counter so you're not putting your arms out, changing your center of balance. You could stand close to a wall if you wanted to. And again, would be much better if you don't have to put your fingers on something. But you want to do the best of three, and then you'll average them. What we're looking for is how long can you do that standing leg balance. You're going to record that. Now, there are some with older adults, and it does depend on, are you between 40, 49, 50, 59? The age brackets matter. Remember, we're talking norms, not recommendations. I don't want you to be more likely to fall when you're 70 than when you were 40. So I don't tell people, yeah, you only have to do that for 10 seconds when you're 70, and you need to do it for 30 or more when you're 50. I'm not going to be the one to tell you that. Go ahead. All you need is 10 seconds. And if you fall, it's because you're normal. No, right? So remember, norms, this is not your goal. This is just what's true and what people have achieved. You're not those people. You are way above average, girlfriend. If nobody else told you that today, let me be the first. So in that single leg stand, you want to just lift one foot up. That shift of weight, by the way, is key. And if you haven't practiced that, just that simple action, realize that it may take you by surprise that, wow, I have to pay attention. I have to think about this. So like so many of us will do when we're driving and it's nighttime or it's raining, we'll turn down the radio, turn it off so that we can see better. When you are balancing, you may feel better in a quiet room, no chaos, but realize that if you want to get better, you want to shake things up a little bit. And yes, just practicing that single leg stand will help you get better. Try and go 2 more seconds than you did last time, 3 more seconds than you did last time. And then we're going to start turning on the radio or the television so that you've got some distraction and you do have noise, because when people fall, it is in chaos. It's not in a cool, dark yoga studio. That, calm, quiet room is not really helping you prepare for the way people fall in chaos, noisy, wind, distraction. Somebody calls your name, your hands are full. We need to do some practice like that, but this is a start, okay? So single leg standing, and you want to look at yourself in norms. Some people will say the older you get, 10 seconds is great. I think not. I want you, everybody, I don't care how old you are listening to this, 30 seconds or greater is where you ideally ought to be. And remember, when you look at that norm charts, if you grab the scorecard, you don't want to be normal, honey. Okay? Not meant to be condescending. Sorry about that. The third test is a shoulder reach. So if you're watching video, you may be seeing this. If you're not, what I want you to do is do this with me. Take your right hand, reach it up, drop it down between your shoulder blades like you're patting yourself on the back, as you should, and then take your left and reach up. And you want to know, this is where somebody with you might be coming in handy, but you could also back up into your phone, turn your phone camera on, the video, so that you can see what you're doing. What you want to know is, do your fingers is there a gap between them? So your score would be -2, -4 inches, or it would be 0. They're meeting, or there's overlap, +1 inch, +2 inch. You're recording that, and then you're going to do the other one as well. So left, and then reach back and up. You might want to be warmed up before you do that. Just body weight push-ups against the wall so that you're actually contracting and doing some resistance. You can do a downward facing dog. If you're used to yoga, you're comfortable with that move, you can go into a plank. So you're waking your shoulders up a little bit, and that may help you get a greater range of motion. The next test, sit to stand, is going to feel like this is for really older adults. And it often is for those who are compromised in range of motion. It's 70 and 80-year-olds. This is the kind of test they're doing for fall risk reduction. If you go to a program like that, this is one of the measures they'll do at the beginning, and it's one at the end. Researchers will use this for older adults as an assessment. So what you're doing is basically sitting in a chair, like a solid, sturdy chair. Now, it could be a folding chair, for instance, could be your dining room chair, but not padded. You want to make sure that it's just square. Sitting down, your knees are about even with your hip when you sit down. You're going to take your hands to the opposite shoulder, and you're going to record, which chair did I use? Which shoes did I have on? Because that may matter too. Okay. And then you're going to start the timer, and in 30 seconds or a specific time, you'll get the details in the scorecard. You're going to stand and sit up, down, up, down, up, down. And so obviously you do need to come down into the chair, not just touch your hip down, but sit and then stand again. And how many can you get? Not using the arms and your hip. Yeah, it's not going back in the chair so your back is against it, but you are down, unloaded on the chair, and then standing. And you're recording how many can you get in that period of time. Hands on the shoulders, you're not using them. This sit to stand test, ironically, tests power. So far, the recovery heart rate tested cardiovascular ability, single leg stance, obviously your balance or stability, shoulder reach, mobility or flexibility as we knew it. Sit to stand is power. It's a measure of strength. It's a division of strength. Remember, going quickly, because we're asking you to do, this is the only time I like that cue, as many as you can in a minute. But I don't love that because we get sloppy. This is a super simple move. If you tend to get dizzy, know who you are. You may want somebody close to you, but you're just turning on your timer and beginning and watching. How many can I get in the time span? So I like a 30-second time span. You could do shorter and do 10, and you're just, again, replicable is important. So you can do shorter if you're not feeling all that strong or feeling like this is work for me, and that's great. The mile walk is the fifth test. So ideally, you and I would go to a track, and they would say, I'm doing the inside lane. I'm doing the second lane. And we know it's a quarter-mile track. I'm going to do 4 of them, and boom, it's done. Tracks are generally level as much as possible. If you're replicating it like that, you're going to toe the line. You're going to come back to it and end perfect, right? Don't have to think about it and don't have to tape it in your car. So if you have access to a track, that would be ideal. What you do want to remember is, again, write it down. Don't necessarily go to one track and then go to a different track for the next one. If one is pea gravel and one is, a flat asphalt surface, different results you're going to get just from that change. So wear the same shoes, same amount of traction. And those little things matter. Be rested or not. I would recommend before you do a mile walk test, you're warmed up. So you've done some stretches for the legs, you've done some leg swings for the legs, you've done a little walking, or even little quick steps in walking so that you're really warmed up. So your gait is already there. You're not spending the first few minutes kind of getting warmed up. You're already warm before you start. Not out of breath, not overworked, but you get the drill. We are testing your cardiovascular ability, but to some extent, we're also testing your mobility. because your gait, how comfortable you are, swinging your legs through using both of them, and you are doing a one-legged stance. We're not actually testing balance, but for an older adult or someone who's compromised right now, it may feel a little like it is a balance challenge. One foot is always in touch with the ground when you're walking. So this is key. This is a mile walk, not a jog, not a run. You're not doing the mile as fast as you can. It's meant to be a mile walk. That means one foot is always in contact with the floor. The distinguishing feature between running and walking is you have air time when you're running. There is something directly related for mile walking to your longevity. If we can't walk at a speed of 3.3 miles per hour or greater, the mortality risk is significantly greater. So we want to be at 3.3 or greater. I like to see people approaching walking at speeds of 15-minute miles. That's 4 miles per hour. And you're not necessarily going to start there, but that's a good pace. It's not necessarily a race walking pace, but we're looking for a pace ideally that you can sustain. Not that you start out fast and then you get slower, but that you can sustain. So that's the reason for the warm up. If you can't move very quickly, it's a hint at cardiovascular fitness, but it's also a hint at your balance and your stability, your mobility. We looked at shoulders as opposed to, say, mobility at your hip or hip flexor. Those would be even more tied to your ability to get up and down off the floor. So there are other tests that you can do, and those are included in the fitness scorecard. So let's say you record your score and you're interested in you improving you. You feel like, I'm not all that fit right now. So recovery heart rate, the fastest way to increase that twofold is make sure you have a base of support. You're walking on a regular basis daily. That will increase VO2 max, but the one that will increase that recovery heart rate score the most is doing high intensity interval training, getting breathless in 30 seconds or less, alternated with full recovery. So you're breathing through your nose. That's the definition of kind of full recovery. Before you go again, you're doing maybe 4 to 6 of those intervals. And you're doing that anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week. In 5 to 10 weeks, show a significant increase in your VO2 max. Significant improvements. You'll begin to feel better. Other exercise will start to feel better. Your resting heart rate as well as that recovery heart rate will begin to come down. For single leg standing, simply practicing the balance. So the very test, you can replicate that. Once you have that and you've worked your way up to from 10 seconds and maybe you're working your way up to you can hit 30 seconds, then I would encourage you to begin the challenge of do that, turn on the noise, have people moving in and out of the room, distracting you. If you don't have anybody else in the room, got the TV on, you've done that one, you can also now start turning your head because where you turn your head, your body wants to go. So that is a real significant increase in the balance. You may notice the wind starts to pick up, right? It feels like, wow, it's a little harder. You can also look up and down. Now, that still keeps your center of gravity over the base of support, but here's the other one. We balance because we're taking in information from our environment. If you close your eyes and you're trying that balance, again, you may want your fingers on something. That's one way to up the ante in the balance challenge. Make sure you realize the biggest benefit is those instances when you're taking your center of gravity away from base of support. Base of support being your 2 feet on the ground. And if we drew a line on the outside silhouette of your both feet, connected them in the top and the bottom, there's also the space between. Your base of support is good when we say or cue hip distance apart versus side by side with your feet. As fitness instructors, we're trying to help you be more stable. And we also sometimes will say slightly wider than hip width apart. It gives you a little bit bigger base of support. But you will find if you go way wide, you're probably going to experience less of a base of support or less stability. Let me say that. It seems like a greater distance, but it's not necessarily better. So this directly under your hips or just a little bit wider, you're going to have the greatest sense of stability there. Center of gravity for For you and for me, it's close to your belly button, but your belly button may be a little higher, a little bit lower. You may have a longer or shorter torso, all those things change center of gravity. If you're a woman who is pregnant, you're somebody who carries a lot of belly fat, visceral belly fat in that area, your center of gravity is different, but it's around our middle somewhere. When you say go into a moon pose, for those of you that know yoga, you're on one leg, you take your center of gravity and you're kind of just trying to move over. You're in front of your feet, essentially. Now you're not lined up. So you have more balance to do, even in triangle pose. You'll notice both feet still on the ground, and yet your center of gravity has changed a little because you're not straight up and down. You have to adjust. But if you're on one foot, even more so, if you are not just standing upright in that single leg, you're actually over to the side. Everything changes. Those kinds of things help to improve your balance, but it is the getting into and out of them that is the real balance challenge. So moving in and out of positions where center of gravity is not on base of support is the challenge. And practicing that more makes standing single leg shifting of the weight far easier. You've just done the really, really hard stuff. You've gone to algebra and geometry. So when you come back to doing simple addition and subtraction, it's easy peasy, right? So that's how you improve. In the sit to stand test, where you're up and down out of a chair, you can do your squats, your lunges, that lower body strengthening with compound exercises that really kind of mimics what you're doing, but under load will support that. As you practice the balance, you're also going to be supported if that was part of the challenge. With arms crossed, some of you may feel like there is a balance challenge to getting up, especially if your muscles are weaker. So the stronger you get and the more improve your balance, that one will get easier. The mile walk, how do you improve that? Number one, just walking more on a regular basis, identifying any deficits in your gait. So if you are moving, if you're going for a walk and maybe you detect even that you're limping, generally when you and I detect that we're limping or we're favoring a leg, it's really quite significant. But someone else watching you may realize that you are favoring a leg, even if you don't realize it, because we habitually settle into this is our normal. And sometimes we're doing something that is going to limit your ability to go faster. So you may want to get an assessment if you feel like you're limited or like, I just can't go faster. As if you have considerable amount of body weight, we don't necessarily want you to run. Running is not better. Actually, going at the fastest pace you can walk requires more energy expenditure than does a slow jog. But the slow jog causes you to have 4 times the impact of your weight on your joints. So if we can keep one foot on the ground, we avoid that impact and may get greater energy expenditure. So fast walking, going as quickly as you can, and there may need some gait attention. It may be mobility, it may be stability, it may be certain strength or balance between the joints that needs to occur in order for you to do that. So sometimes working with a professional physical therapy assessment to say, where is it? Why can't I get that? May be very worthwhile so you can actually pursue your greater fitness goals. Okay, I hope that was helpful. But all of these really easy tests, if you're curious, and most of us are really curious about how do I compare to others, but most importantly, where am I right now? And where would I love to be at in 3 months from now? And then you've got a goal that potentially you can get more excited about. You don't have to choose to improve on all 5 of these, but if there is one in particular that this surprised me, like I should be better at this, choose that one. And not that you're not going to get better at the others, but choose that one and just go for it. Hope this was helpful. I love to hear from you. You can reach out to me in DMs and Instagram. I am still the one responding to almost all of those. And if you're asking a question or say, hey, I listened to you, I appreciate it, one more favor I'd love to ask you, that if you find the show is valuable, reviewing the literature and or getting the tips from a 41-year professional who trains the trainers, please share this with somebody that you know. It's high time that more women are moving and we're bringing it to a level that feels doable to start, because life is better when you're exercising. Movement feels more comfortable when you're starting at the right place for you and you progress at the right pace. Those two things are extremely crucial. But our next 10 years, 20 and 30, are very dependent on how well we're moving. Muscle is medicine, and muscle opens the gate to mobility and to stability and agility. But those things take special practice. So starting where you are and improving, so very important. Thank you for being one of the most important and powerful health influencers in the world, not just for you, but all 3 generations in your life that you influence. Thanks so much for listening.